Welcome back, everybody, to Just Keep Parenting. We are in the throes of preparing children for class, preparing university students for class, and I thought I better get this idea videoed before it kind of gets too crazy around here. But glad you joined us again for another parenting tip. One of the things that I've been thinking about in training teachers this next week is choices, the power of choices. We've had a couple of videos that have talked about offering choices and the power within those. There's actually a video called The Power of Choice. And last week's video, I think, was on false choices. And I just wanted to spend a little bit of time just talking about why, right? How to help children with choices. And we're taking from the book, right, Dr. Bickabile's Easy to Love, Difficult to Discipline. But most people know, it's common knowledge that children do better when they have a choice, right, and not false choices. And you can go back and listen to that if you'd like to figure that out. But unlimited choices, we know that would be totally foolish, right? You'd be in the toy store all day and you wouldn't have any idea how much money you'd spend if you gave unlimited choices to your child. Right? But just like to adults, unlimited choices are overwhelming, right? And we're adults, right? But sometimes there are too many choices for us to make. And so we like to have just a few limited choices, right? I was at a funeral last week for a dear friend of mine, and one of her children told a story that she didn't like to make choices, and the nurse came in and said, "You can have this or this to drink, 2 choices," right? And she said, "Oh, that's too many choices." And sometimes I feel like that, right? As an adult even. And so as we're working with young children, one of the things that we need to remember is that too many choices can be overwhelming, right? So as we structure choices for children, we need to think about their age. That's the first thing, so that we can be developmentally appropriate with them. We need to think about their temperament, right? Individually appropriate. And the specific situation, right? So it comes back to that context, right? And so as we think about development for their age and temperament, so that individual piece, as well as the contextual factor, right? What's happening? What's the situation? Then we can structure the situation to be better for the child. So there are some guidelines. There's 5 guidelines that I'd like us to think about today as we think about choices. The first one, if your child is under 5, right, we need to provide a choice that's predetermined, right? So 2 predetermined events, 2 predetermined objects, right? So for clothing, you might say you have a choice between this red shirt and this blue shirt. Which one do you want to wear today, right? So easy, we've structured it. If it's a food, would you like orange juice or milk? Would you like to make a choice between orange juice and milk? The third one is activities, right? Do you want to build with blocks or do you want to draw today, right? And so that fills their autonomous heart, if you will, right? That I'm empowered. I can do this, right? Because I just made my own choice. And it makes our life easier as caregivers, right? The fourth one that we want to think about is compliance, right? You have a choice. You can pick up the square blocks or you can pick up the round blocks. Which do you pick, right? There again, the compliance is this has to be done, right? But you have a choice as to how to do it, right? Taking out the garbage, right? The garbage needs to be taken out, and that's your job this week. So do you want to take it out before breakfast or after breakfast, right? And so it's not a choice of doing it or not doing it. It's a matter of kind of when you're going to do it, right? That compliance piece. There's a couple things as we think about offering children choices under the age of 5 that we never want to do, right? That we never want to offer a choice. And that is the daily schedule, right? So are you ready for bed? Most children I know are going to say no. There are a few in my life that'll say, "I'm tired. Can I go to bed?" I'm like, yes, right? But most of them are going to say no, right? So we never offer a choice when it comes to the daily schedule. Adult activities is the other one we never offer a choice with, right? Could mommy leave you with daddy now? Because I need to go shopping, right? That's an adult choice. So mommy's going to go shopping and you can stay with daddy And then comes the choice, right? So you can either draw or build with blocks while you stay with daddy, right? So you're not giving them the adult choice. You're not handing that power over to them. And then the third one is relationships, right? Would you like to spend Christmas with mommy or daddy? That's rough, right? And so never offering them that choice. And then dangerous situations, right? Sometimes we put children in charge of things or situations where they shouldn't be, right? Sometimes we use children as pawns, right? When we're afraid ourselves to make the choice, we use them as pawns. Let me just read you a quick from Becky Bailey's book. She gives a really great idea here. So Tasha's mother repeatedly requested that Tasha come visit so she could spend time with Hunter, age 6, her grandson. On the phone, Tasha's mother often made guilt-inducing comments such as, "You'd think we lived 1,000 miles away by how seldom you visit me. I suppose I will see Hunter at his high school graduation." To relieve her guilt, Tasha decided to visit her mother on Saturday. She and Hunter arrived in the morning so they would have ample time with Grandma. Hunter was excited to see his grandma and to learn that they would go to the park. After 3 hours, Tasha asked Hunter, "Are you ready to go home now?" Mommy has to do grocery shopping, right? So she's put that back on that child. That's the dangerous piece, right? With her question, Tasha put Hunter in charge of the schedule. What if Hunter was not ready to leave? Did he truly have a choice? It's a false choice, my friends. Often adults use children as pawns in situations in which the adults fear to say what they want to say themselves, right? So it creates tremendous problem. Tasha offered Hunter a choice, staying with Grandma or leaving. She did it because she was afraid to decide for herself and risk incurring her mother's disapproval. We must give children choices to foster their own development, not to compensate for our lack of immaturity, right? And so as we move on, right, to the second one, we talked about the first one, offering children a choice if they're under the age of 5, with 2 predetermined events, right? Not more than 2. The second one is some children need more limited, structured choices in order to stay focused. And I think if you think about your individual children, you'll understand that piece, because sometimes as adults we fall into a trap of offering too many commands to children who need more limits, right? I'm thinking of some specific children that it's just like they're when I offer them choices, it's like debilitating to them. They're like, I don't know, right? And so then I'm taking that context and I'm saying, okay, this is a child who needs a little bit of help. So, all right, so the first thing that you need to do, sweetie, is you need to wash your hands. Do you want to use this sink or this sink, right? And typically to 4-year-olds coming in, I'm like, okay, wash your hands and then come over to the question of the day, right? So I'm offering those commands to them so they know what to do. But if I can see that's overwhelming, then I'm going to restructure things a little bit, right? So sometimes they need limited structured choices more so. And you're going to be able to figure that out by watching, right? Watching what's happening. The third thing that we want to do is with children over the age of 5, right? We no longer have to structure their choices with 2 predetermined, right? We can go more than that. But they're going to tell you, I mean, you may have some 4-year-olds that do that, right? They can handle up to 4 commands or choices at a time. But if you offer that and they're not getting it, then we need to scale back a little bit and then move forward after we see that they can offer that, right? Watch and see what they can handle and move forward from there. So that's the third thing. The fourth thing is as your child gets older, they can contribute to a discussion about routines and rules and daily schedules, right? They can contribute. However, it's vital for us as the adults, as the caregivers, to remember that these are ultimately adult decisions, right? We don't want to fall into that trap of giving them choices when they don't really have a choice, right? But after they get older, they can contribute and help, bring that body, bring that all that information, and then let the adults decide based on that, based on the fact that they're the adults, right? And then the fifth thing, my friends, is anxious or overwhelmed children, right? They respond better to assertive commands, right? Kind of at the beginning when I said, you need to wash your hands, right? That's the command. As you come into the classroom, you need to wash your hands, but you can use this sink or you can go into the bathroom and use that sink, right? So then it's like, oh, okay, because they're nervous, right? They're a little bit anxious, especially, if you're just meeting them. And so helping them figure that out with commands rather than choices, right? And pretty soon you're going to be able to move forward with those choices and they'll be just fine, right? But I just want you to think about the last time you were overwhelmed, right? When was that, right? The last thing we want to do when we're overwhelmed is make more decisions, right? Even as adults. And so when children are overwhelmed, right, choices are just another problem that they can't solve. So as we learn to watch for that, watch their body language, watch what's coming out of their mouth, watch their emotions, we're going to be able to figure out what they need best, right? So going back to the story with Carol, let me just read you the ending because I think it's such a great success story. And as parents and caregivers, we always want success, right? Carol's 4-year-old son was playing at a friend's house. She went to pick him up, dreading the moment she would have to tell him that it was time to leave. They had already suffered through many power struggles about ending play dates. I know that one thing that I love to do is give the children that reminder. Okay, in 2 minutes, we're going to leave to go to grandma's, or in 2 minutes, we're going to stop playing, or in 2 minutes, we're going to clean up. Now, some of them don't know what 2 minutes means, but they're pretty good at saying, oh, so it's just a shortened time, right? On this occasion, Carol chose to try a new approach. She had literally rehearsed what she would tell her son, right out loud. We're practicing. She began by assertively telling him it was time to leave. It's time to go, buddy. Then before he began to complain, she said in an upbeat voice, you have 2 choices, sweetie. You can leave through the front door or you can leave through the back door. What do you choose? Can I ring the doorbell if I choose the front door? She said yes, and they went home in good spirits, right? So all this parenting stuff takes a little bit of time to think through, doesn't it? And I hope that today's been helpful in just thinking through, okay, 2 choices, and we've got you some guidelines, 5 guidelines that you can think about. What age is my child and what do I need to do from there? What if I have an overly anxious child, right? And how can I deal with that? So here's to making choices this week. Good luck, and we'll catch you on the flip side.